Recently, I started following a channel called The Thinking Ape, and in one of the episodes, the narrator goes on about anger and anger in our society. He then goes on to state that middle-aged men are not that attractive, and what's even less appealing is is angry middle-aged men. To which I say, nine, 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 and a big welcome to our German viewers. You are our #1 non-English speaking demographic on this channel. Well done, you're beating the polls again. And a huge namaste to our Indian viewers. I like your Royal Enfields, I like your Rajdoots, Sabji, Dal, Roti, Lassi, welcome. Today I'm comparing the performance of my two bikes. That's the only two I've got running. 23 speed twin 1200, 85 XV 750. I just want to see how well they compare on the same stretch of road in the same conditions, right? So with the speed twin, just to sum it up, I'll put up the specs on for both bikes on the screen, but this bike's got traction control, ABS, and claims of about 100 horsepower. The XV's got, I think it was meant to be 45 horsepower when it first came out, which I reckon they would have dropped to about 30. It's a little bit long in the tooth. Obviously, it's nearly a 40-year-old motorcycle. It's also got a little issue with the forks leak. So I've got I've got fork oil dripping on the brakes, which makes the brakes less effective. However, brakes only slow you down. That's a bad joke. I'm using my favourite stretch of road. It's got very good tarmac, tight corners, well-cambered corners, and there is no feeder roads into the road. So all you got to do is wait at the bottom of the hill for a couple of minutes, and then you know you've got a clear run all the way to the top, unless the car breaks down. In Australia, I don't know about the rest of the world, but in Australia we seem to have numbers that appear around roads, and these magic numbers are called speed limits. I don't recognise you all. That's not a motorcycle, it's a vehicle. I don't ride it, I travel on it. And my name is Nicholas, in capital letters, officer. In order to compare these bikes, what I've done is I've worked out a way to actually evaluate every run, and for that I've taken the ambient temperature, the surface temperature, the tyre pressure of the bikes, their weights, the wind speed, the time it took me to get up the hill, the distance that I travelled, and I got all that and just threw that shit out, because all I really need is just the time and the distance and the local speed limit. I don't want to give too much away here, but I've just jumbled them up, put them through a secret formula, and I've come up with ratings for every run that I do. So, with the Virago, this bike I know well, it has reasonable acceleration, cornering is good, and it's predictable. On tighter corners I do manage to scrape the foot pegs, which is always a little bit unnerving, but I've pushed the girl through to its limits, and I was pleasantly surprised, because my overall score for the Virago run was a 2, which is really surprising. So with the Triumph, I knew it was going to do better than the XV750. It's a brand new bike after all. So I went for it, and admittedly I lost a few seconds at the very end. I got stuck behind a car. I didn't give myself enough time at the bottom of the hill. I worked out my score, and you wouldn't believe it, I got a 2 as well for the Triumph. I was devastated. How can a brand new bike be the same, perform the same as a 40-year-old piece of Japanese motorcycle history? And when I thought about it, what it was, I think I was just running the bike in. It hasn't had its first service, so I wasn't really gunning it. But then, to make sure that I improve in the future, I actually reached out, and I did get some advice from Guy Martin and some lizard people, and they both told me to grow some, which I did. By this stage, the bike's running. It's already had its first service, and it's got about 5,000 k's on the clock. And I've got to say, before that run, the famous words of Bashar al-Assad came into my mind, where he said to his mum, "Mummy, I'm afraid." Well, he didn't really say that. He was 5 years old at the time and didn't speak English, but what he did say was, "Omi, anaha if I come." I was packing, but I went for it anyway. And as luck would have it, got an 8. Got a beautiful 8, nice round 8. It's an even number, divisible by 2 and 4. I was stoked. I was wrapped.